Well, howdy, Gig Goners. Welcome to the first ever episode of Shop Talk, or Beers in the Barn. We'll come up with something later. It may be the only episode of Shop Talk, but I'm sorry I haven't posted a video in a couple of weeks. It is graduation season, and I have a lot of friends with a lot of kids graduating high school, and I was lucky enough to be invited to see them off and wish them well as they head off to college and move into the next chapter of life. So very proud of all of them. And hope they all do well. And Joey, if you're watching, since I'm thinking about it, right behind me right here, there's your washer and dryer. So whenever you're ready to come and pick it up, it'll be here. Anyway, back to the subject at hand. As you can see, this is obviously not a camping video. It's been a couple weeks since I've been able to get out and do any kind of camping, mainly because of graduation as well as trying to get Amy fit for the road. So as most of you know, if you've been watching the video, I had to put her down to get a new transmission job, and actually the transmission job went really, really well, but there were some aspects that I had to overcome, and we'll get right into that. So, what was happening was I spent probably 2 days putting the transmission back in, the exhaust, getting everything lined up. I replaced a couple of seals while I was in there because, hey, better replace them now while all that stuff is out of the way than try to get to it later. So, I got the transmission in, I fired her up for the first time last week and drove her out, and everything was perfect. Took her to town, she ran smooth, shifted like a dream, no further issues. Thank you and shout out to Noble Transmission and Escalon for helping me out with that. However, when I got her back home, I went through the gears and went through the four-wheel drive, and I found that when I put it in four-wheel drive high engaged, but when I hit four-wheel drive low, nothing happened. The switch would just simply blink. And as it was blinking, it was almost like it was mesmerizing, which drew a response from me like. And so finally, I started doing some research. Obviously, this can't be something crazy. I mean, everything worked fine before I took the transmission out. And technically, just taking the transmission out and putting it back in shouldn't have any effect on the four-wheel drive. So just a quick run through on this particular vehicle. The way the four-wheel drive works is you have a push-button keypad on the dash, and when you push the button, it sends a signal to the transfer case control module that sends it down to the encoder motor or to the front axle, depending on what you're doing. In this particular case, when I hit 4 high, it sent the signal to the front axle, which caused the actuator to engage. You can actually hear the little motor, click, four-wheel drive high. However, when you hit four-wheel drive low, nothing would happen. It's the same actuator. That was confusing to me. So I did some research trying to figure out what was going on, and everything led to either I had a bad transfer case control module, which is the brain of the system, which was about $700, or a bad encoder motor, which is about $300. So I couldn't bring myself to believe that because four-wheel drive was working fine before the transmission came out. It had to be something simple. So I fell into the, dark hole of the web trying to research, and there was nothing on there really that addressed this. I had to kind of figure this out from doing little bits of research on my own and my own observation, which ultimately helped me out. So I wanted to make this video for anybody driving one of these. It's a 2001 Chevy Tahoe to 2007, I believe, GMT 800. Phenomenal vehicles, by the way. Super easy to work on, parts for everything, bulletproof. What happened was I was noticing that when I was driving for the week, because I was still driving the car, I just couldn't use four-wheel drive low. When you put your car in gear, it looks something like this. As you can see in that little clip, when you shift from drive or reverse or park, it illuminates which gear or which mode you're in to let you know you're in that mode. And what I noticed was mine was doing that in every gear except neutral. Now, mind you, it didn't matter which gear I put it in. Everything shifted correctly. It was all engaging. But for some reason, neutral would not illuminate. I could not figure it out for the life of me. So I started looking into that. Would that have anything to do with four-wheel drive? And lo and behold, there it was. If neutral is not illuminating, it's likely that the neutral safety switch on the transmission is misaligned. So I said, oh, if that's misaligned, could that cause a problem with four-wheel drive? And the internet said, yes it can, and here's how. If the neutral safety switch is not engaged, which needs to happen for these push-button four-wheel drives to go into four low, because you can't use four low unless you're in neutral. So in order for that to work, the neutral safety positioning switch needs to be in the right alignment. So I went underneath the vehicle. It's on the left-hand side, the driver's side of the 4L60E transmission, right up in the middle, just above the pan. It's a little black box. I adjusted it, came back up, put it in neutral, and lo and behold, neutral was illuminated. So I started getting excited, because mind you, it's been a week now of very careful and tedious and involved electronic testing that looked something like this. Before I realized that my neutral light was not illuminating. So when I noticed that I put it in neutral and the light illuminated, I got super excited. I pushed four low. All of a sudden, it blinked for a second. The encoder motor engaged, switching the transfer case, which then actuated the front axle. And I was so excited that I started jumping up and down, and the car started rolling on me. So I had to jump back in and come back to reality. But I was ecstatic. I couldn't believe how simple that was, and that I finally figured it out, and then I was ready to get back on the road and have some adventures with Amy and have four-wheel low to get me out of any sticky situation. So I immediately just released all that joyous energy that I had doing other things.
Because I'm happy. Clap along if you feel like a room without a roof. Because I'm happy. Clap along if you feel like happiness is the truth. Because I'm happy. Clap along.
And drove downtown and got a beer because I was so happy that I got it fixed and that it was simple and not an expensive part. So very, 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 very obscure situation that I was not expecting, that most people probably wouldn't think about. And if you search it online, you wouldn't find it. So if you have one of these vehicles, look into that. Very, very, very tricky. But like I said, I am the king of obscure problems, especially when they're mechanical. By no means am I a mechanic, but I am mechanically inclined. So take that with a grain of salt. And if you're having an issue, and I venture to guess it's probably on a very wide range of vehicles that have electronic or push-button four-wheel drive. If this is a situation you're dealing with, that might be another spot that you check. So anyway, great learning experience. I'm glad she's back up and running, and I'm looking forward to some more adventures. So hopefully this weekend, after work, we'll be setting out for the first one back in Amy, and we'll be looking for some good times and some good videos. So stick around, stay tuned. For those of you that have subscribed, thank you so much. I appreciate you. For those that watch this video, I hope you get something out of it. And love you. Take care of each other and yourselves. And make sure you get out there. Get gone.